We confront, not for the first time. I remember having this conversation with people when Afghanistan fell, when the Taliban moved into Kabul. We confront, not for the first time, not merely a war in the Middle East, but a crisis of character in the corridors of British diplomacy. As Israel reels from Iranian missile strikes and responds with air assaults across the region, our own government, their handling of the situation is marked not by urgency but by inertia, a dithering indolence that endangers lives, undermines trusts, and broadcasts weakness. Since June the 13th, that's what, more than 5 days ago now, Israeli airspace has been shut. Missiles have fallen on Haifa and Tel Aviv, and more than 100,000 Israelis were stranded abroad, while 32,000 foreigners, including an estimated 7,000 British nationals, found themselves stuck in a war zone. El Al, Arkia, Israel Air mobilized rapidly to repatriate their citizens. Medical flights were even cleared to operate on the Jewish Sabbath under emergency dispensation. By contrast, the United Kingdom issued statements and forms and a portal. It was only today, on June the 21st, a full week into the conflict, that Foreign Secretary David Lammy confirmed the UK might operate charter flights for British nationals once airspace reopens. Not a single UK aircraft had yet taken off. Not a single air corridor had been pre-cleared. The much vaunted logistical support consisted of telling citizens to register online. No boats, no support really. One can forgive military restraint, one cannot forgive administrative lethargy, not particularly when it happens again and again. You've heard me often complain and point the finger at the Home Office, but the Foreign Office is not much better. This sluggish response was exemplified by the experience of Doreen Samuels, a 74-year-old grandmother from Pinner, stranded in Netanya, while her 79-year-old mother entered end-of-life care back in Bushey. Maybe I should get a camel, she remarked. And her story is not unique. It's emblematic of a government that lacks not only planes, but imagination and common sense. And I'm afraid it's dictated by a civil service that really can't be asked. The Prime Minister, Starmer, returned from the G7, urged Donald Trump not to escalate. A noble gesture, yes, but it rings hollow when Britain itself refuses to act decisively to protect its own people. Lammy flew to Geneva for talks with Iran, joined by the E3 nations, while France and Germany already had evacuation operations underway. We're still discussing risk matrices. The UK embassy families were evacuated early. Ordinary citizens told to wait. Is this a government of the people or merely of personnel? What's the point of having a blue or a red passport anymore if it matters not a bit? Why this caution? Because to admit danger is to risk damaging Israel's diplomatic standing? The fear in Whitehall is not just of missiles, it's of headlines. UK evacuates nationals from Tel Aviv. It implies Israel is not safe, and that has consequences. But diplomacy is not PR. The job of the British government is not to shield another state from embarrassment, it's to shield its own citizens, its own subjects from harm. And we've learned two things this week. El Al flies through rocket fire to rescue citizens. The UK government asks you to fill out a form. And then there's the creative thinking, like using coaches to the Jordanian border or pre-authorising repatriation corridors via Amman or Larnaca. It's possible, but it requires leadership, and that has been conspicuously absent. David Lammy talks of a window of diplomacy. He couldn't find a window in a cellar. But diplomacy without backbone is just wind. Its flatulence and moral seriousness requires more than platitudes about cool heads. If Iran's war with Israel escalates, Britain will find itself not only on the sidelines, but held responsible by its own people for failing them. If this is what a Starmer government looks like under pressure, then heaven help us when a real emergency arises. Let's pray that the airspace opens soon, and not just over Tel Aviv, but over Westminster's shuttered moral conscience. In times of crisis, great notions show character, and this week, Britain showed its clipboard.